Hello, my amazing tribe. I want to take a hot minute just to share something very short and sweet with you before I launch into the 6 things that made this an unstoppable year. And that is how much gratitude and thanks I have for you being part of this tribe. Yes, there's a number of things that I did this year that I am like, wow, I can share these with this tribe and maybe they'll take these on board and have an unstoppable year in 2020, or maybe 2019 has been unbelievable for you as well. I hope it has been. But the fact that you show up, the fact that you comment, the fact that you share, that you listen, that you watch videos, that you consume what I have to give you and what I have to offer is unbelievable. And you're the whole reason why I show up on all of these different platforms, because I want to help you create the impact in the world that you're really born to do. That's job done. See you later. No. Not really. I just wanted to take that minute to say thank you. And if you don't watch anything else, you can stop the video right now, get on with the rest of 2019. But if you're here to listen to what I have to share in retrospect of an unstoppable year, then let's get into it. So over the last couple of days, I've been doing a little bit of reflecting, and there's a few personal things that I would love to share, but this is probably not the medium to do that. I'll probably share those things with the people closest to me. However, there has been some amazing highs and lows and all the things in between this year. And I think that if you are really putting yourself out there and challenging yourself and doing hard things, and all the wonderful personal development sayings that we hear and quotes on Instagram, then you're going to experience those things. But I do know that there was a few things that I did this year that have made it incredible. So I want to share those with you today. Number one is, if I look back and think about this time last year, we were in New Zealand and we were thinking about coming back to Australia in February, March of this year, and our intention was perhaps to live somewhere else on the East Coast, but we came back to Newcastle because this is where our stuff was. Our dog was in New South Wales being looked after, and we landed in Newcastle and decided to stay. So we've been establishing a new life here in Newcastle after being in Melbourne for a little over 4 years. And we left behind a business there that has eventually been sold to someone else. And so we were really starting afresh. And so what that meant for me with my business is making new connections and making new contacts, and really starting to get a lay of the land here in Newcastle and understand what was going on for women here. Number one, that was my mission. And then number two was finding my tribe. As cliche as that sounds, that's been something really important to me in the last few years. And that's a whole reason why I transitioned out of my career in architecture and eventually am doing what I'm doing today. So the biggest thing that helped me in terms of building connections was networking. This is not something that I'd done a lot of. I probably went to 1 or 2 networking events before this year. But we landed in February, and then in March I was given the invitation to speak at something called the Fee Collective. And it was kind of interesting because I was very new to Newcastle and hadn't established myself here yet, but I had my sister, and so I had some connections standing up there felt very raw and vulnerable, and I also had a terrible throat infection. So to add to the fact that I didn't know my audience and I had really just moved to Newcastle, was anybody going to actually understand what I had to say that night? And thankfully they did, and thankfully that was a very rewarding experience because it led to a few other things later in the year. But what that event and the consequent events that I went to, they're called the Fee Collective. So if you're based in Newcastle and you're watching this, I recommend, if you've got a creative bone in your body, then you want to connect with like-minded women, some amazing women, then I suggest heading along to the Fee Collective. They have events every 2 months, so it's pretty easy to find a free Tuesday night every 2 months to head along. What that experience led to is a beautiful collaboration that I created with one other woman, and then we brought another amazing woman, Jade, into the career salon in the latter part of this year. And the great things about collaboration that I've discovered, I've done a few collaborations over the year, but nothing quite to this extent. Huge shout out to Harriet Hughes for taking a chance on me, and also Jade for being so incredible and sharing her knowledge and joining us for our Business of You workshops and later in the year. What those collaborations allow you to do as a small business owner is to combine your networks. So being someone that was fairly new in Newcastle, I hadn't yet established my network, but I really wanted to get to know the women here. And so being able to combine with Harriet meant that we were able to grow an even bigger tribe together on subjects that we were really passionate about. Harriet and I are really aligned in our values. We have quite different strengths, but together we made a really formidable combination, and then also bringing in Jade was even more wonderful. I know a few of you out there are really leveraging collaboration at the moment in your businesses or your side hustles. But if you simply want to get your idea off the ground, if you have a creative project that you want to share as a workshop, or perhaps you're wanting to simply get the idea out there that you exist and that you have this product or service, collaboration is a beautiful way to do that. And it really gives you the opportunity to amplify your message to an even wider audience. That's number one. Number two is set big goals. Some people call these impossible goals. And sometimes your impossible goals might be on a yearly time frame, but a lot of the time an impossible goal is going to take you more than a year to achieve. That could be a monetary goal. It could be some type of freedom that you want to experience with your family. It could be a business goal. It could be a career goal. And I really encourage you to set impossible goals. The main reason being that I saw this quote today from Sarah Blakely, and I'm going to read it to you word for word. She says, set a goal so big you can't achieve it until you grow into the person who can. And that, when I heard it, was pivotal for me because it made me realize I'd set some really big goals for myself this year whilst working with a business coach, and I thought that they were probably going to be achievable in a year. Turns out they're probably going to be maybe 6 months more, maybe a year more, maybe a little bit longer even than what I thought. But what I was able to do looking back at the end of this year and looking at the fact that I hadn't quite hit those goals, and I really sat in a place of compassion, because I think it's important that when you don't hit a goal that you don't make it mean something about you, or you don't make it suddenly not viable and you give up altogether. Sometimes what that can mean is that maybe there's a little bit of a mindset tweak. Maybe there's a habit that you need to introduce into your life that's going to allow you to be more consistent, that's going to really powerfully help you execute that goal. I know now, looking back, I'm like, okay, that's probably why I didn't quite get there, but that's okay, because I'm going to get there if I do this, or I need to work on practicing this, or I need to shift that fear because I know that's the one little thing that's stopping me right now. So set impossible goals for yourself. It really helps you if you can look at those goals at the end of the year or whatever time frame you do for your goal review, to be able to look at them and say, okay, in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year, 5 years, who am I going to need to be in order to go after that goal? And it allows you to look at all of the different factors in your life and then make small goals and small tweaks to your life to get you a little step closer. The third thing that's made this year unstoppable has been starting a podcast. Some of you, hopefully all of you, have listened to the True to You podcast at some stage this year. This is a podcast that I created because I wanted the opportunity to share more of the areas, the factors, the principles that I believe contribute towards a woman pursuing meaningful work and pursuing work that lights her up, that embraces her gifts and, most importantly, her creativity, but also recognizing that that path can look like a number of different things. And so where that was amazing and where collaboration came into that as well is that I was able to interview different women who had been on that path towards meaningful work. I was able to give you examples of what it takes to get there and give you lots of different examples and hope that you would resonate with one of their stories and see yourself in that story and know that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, but also be able to equip you with more resources. Podcasting's huge. It's going to continue to blow up, and I might sound a bit like Gary Vee nagging in your ear right now, but if you have the opportunity to jump into podcasting, whether it be being a guest on someone's podcast or creating your own podcast, it might be that you create a podcast as a series. Perhaps you teach something and you decide, I'm going to give people 12 lessons on how to do this one thing in their life, or similar to what you would do a workshop, but simply across a number of episodes. There's so many ways that we can do podcasts. We don't have to show up every single week. We can create something that's really intentional and really purposeful and suits your audience and what they want to hear. I know that I'm in this for the long game, and I know that I want to grow my tribe, and I know that I want to connect with more women, especially locally. That's really important for me. So for me, this podcast has to happen on a weekly frequency. I think I've missed 1 week in the last few months, but it's been amazing. And to any of the women watching this that have been guests on the podcast, thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. And I hope that that's given you the opportunity as well to grow your confidence and articulate your business message or the things that you really stand for, and really get behind those things. The next thing is working with a business coach this year. I got to a point this year where I was really feeling like having the support of someone was going to take things to the next level for me. I'm also a big believer that if you are a teacher or if you are a coach and you want to help people in a group setting or perhaps in a one-on-one setting, that enlisting the support of a coach and being coachable allows you to better coach other people. It's a little bit different if you're training them. However, I would say that coaching still comes into that environment, and as we start to evolve more of our soft skills as well, coaching is really part of that and growing those. So the other thing that I would say on that is, yes, it helps me to be a better coach, to be coached by someone that is a few steps ahead of me, that's done the thing that I exactly want to do, is that on that I can fast track my way to where I want to go. And because time is money to me, if I have the financial resources available and I'm doubling down on investing in myself and investing in my dream, then to a certain extent, the financial exchange to do that is not an issue for me, because I know that if I'm going to sit here every night till midnight trying to Google my way, listen to YouTube videos, and consume content to try and get myself to the answer that I want, or to coach myself, and that's important, but to coach my way to where I want to go and not even know if that's the right way to go. Enlisting the help of a coach and utilizing that value exchange, that financial exchange, is so worthwhile. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a coach. It doesn't matter what your business is. It's simply that I really see the power in it, and it's not something that I do every single year or I'm constantly got someone there, because I have other people in my life as well. However, for that set period of time, for those 4 or 5 months that we've been working together, it's allowed me to really get focused on those goals that I said before, those impossible goals, and have someone there to keep me accountable and to show me the way. It's simple as that. It's been incredible, and she's been huge support for me this year. The fifth thing is something that I haven't spoken about a lot, but I really wanted to share with you, because I think what I've noticed, and this is partly personal as well, my own pressure on myself, but also you might feel the same pressure if you are starting a side hustle, if you have a business, maybe you're full-time in business, but you're not quite sure what's next. This year, what I have done is I have had 2 to 3 days a week of part-time work. And what that has allowed me to do is maintain that financial cash flow. Yep, number one, that's really important, because it's also helping to fund my dream. It ensures that my basic needs are met. It would be the same thing for a lot of people that are transferring their services from an industry into their own business, and they retain a client. That retainer client might not be the person that they really want to work with in the long run, but it allows them that financial freedom to be able to pick the people that they really want to work with, rather than saying yes to every single piece of work. And like I said, part of the reason why I wanted to share this is because there are so many ways that you can grow your side hustle and you can grow your small business. And that does not mean that you have to leap full-time into it straight away. It does not mean that you have to be earning 6 figures in your first year. And if you're not, then you give up and you say, well, didn't work. What am I going to do next? Oh, I'm a failure. And all of those things that we can feel. The second thing I'd say on that, or third thing, I've got 3 things around this one, is that I've been able to find a company that's aligned with my values and allows me to live into the things that I coach my clients on. If they're looking to move into an industry that feels more aligned with them and more meaningful, the fact that I'm in the action and doing work that represents that for me helps me to reinforce that to them and to myself as well. And what I've also been able to do is leverage a lot of my skills from my business and what I've learned and be able to support my employer with building her business. So that's been incredible. And a book I would say that everyone should read if you are maintaining some part-time work, or if you are diving headfirst into a new full-time job, or you're in your existing job at the moment but you just want to shake things up a little bit. I really recommend that you read this book, Linchpin by Seth Godin. This is to give myself some credit, this is what I've allowed myself to become in my part-time work. And it hasn't stressed me out anymore. It hasn't taken away from what I do in my business. But simply by being a linchpin, I've been able to leverage my strengths, my soft skills, and have really fulfilling work. Because no matter what that looks like, that's the end goal, right? Final thing I have to say, what's made an unstoppable year is not being afraid of success. And this is tied into money for me, because I think I might have mentioned this on a podcast, or maybe not. But when I was working with Rachel, my business coach this year, something that came up was this fear of being successful and fear around earning lots of money and being burnt out. And I think a lot of this came from the fact, a lot of these beliefs that we have either come from what we've seen our parents do, or in my case, it was because in my previous career, I got a little bit burnt out towards the end of it. Emotionally, physically, I was drained. And the whole reason why I wanted to shift my work was that I wanted better balance. I wanted work that didn't leave me feeling like that. And so what that meant was that when I started my own business, I actually carried this fear of success and what that would mean for my health into my work unknowingly. Interestingly, I only just had this epiphany this year. What was really great though is that when I spoke to Rachel, something that she said to me is that it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to believe that. And look for examples of people in your life personally that you know, or perhaps role models online, mentors that you've had in the past that are living examples of women that aren't burning themselves out through their work, that are loving their work, that might actually work 7 days a week, but it's not impacting on other areas of their life as much as you can see from what they say and what you see and things. So obviously that's limited, but she said borrow other people's examples of success and start to believe that they are your own. And that was really powerful for me, because I knew that I had these impossible goals that I wanted to achieve, but that one belief was holding me back from really stepping into what that looked like. And it was a really good sign to me that perhaps I had to stop for a second and look at my life and think, where could I put some boundaries in place? What could I do to ensure that every day I'm working towards my health and my relationships, not at the expense of my business? And sometimes those can be the smallest things, but as my clients will know, because I get them to do a lot of small, consistent actions over time, those things end up being really big things and end up being really big changes. It's very similar to if you want to run the marathon, if you want to lose weight. those other goals, they don't happen without consistency. They don't just happen in a second. So the two things that I would say on that is, if you are scared of success because of what that will mean for other areas of your life, borrow someone else's success story and someone that you believe to be doing success the way you want to do it. And then the second thing is double down on the little habits that you know keep your mind and your body and your spiritual being in check. Okay, my mouth is dry. It's almost dinner time here. I'm hoping to get this video to you tonight. And if you listened all of the way through, thank you. I would love to know from you what one thing, what 5 things, what 10 things have made your year unstoppable, because I'm pretty sure there's been something. It might be a significant event even. I would love to know. Hit reply to the email if you received this in an email. Send me a DM on Instagram. Comment below this if it's on YouTube, wherever you find this video. I would love to know what's made your year unstoppable. And finally, again, a huge thank you to you for being here.